Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the URUAV MC-6S. This is a Lipo checker, and for me in this hobby there are two things that seem to disappear down a black hole and are gone forever. Number one should be fairly obvious: screws. So if you're in the field and you drop a screw, somehow they just seem to disappear forever. And then, strangely enough, second are Lipo checkers. And I don't know if that's because they are small and I'm clumsy and they are easy to leave in the grass. But yeah, I'm always running out of these things and they are really useful. So I thought I'd check this one out. It's also raining, and I should also apologise for the lack of content on the channel because I've got man flu, and as we all know, man flu, worst kind of flu out there. So this one is unusual though because it's got a double function. It's got a receiver checker. So we've got two plugs here. So this is your normal servo connector here, and then I think this is a DSMX style connector or Spectrum style connector, so like JST. And then somewhere around here, so yeah, we've got a switch, and it switches from 5 volt to 3 volt, so you know it will cover from S bus to DSMX and DSM2 and PPM and PWM, and we've got those two different voltages that it supports. So your battery connector plugs into here, and as the name suggests, it does up to 6S, and it can also be powered separately if you're just trying to check your receiver. So I'm not sure about this function. I'm not sure I'd ever use it. I think they have added it because the ISDT Bat Go has got this feature, but it requires you having pins on your receiver. The idea is that you can diagnose whether you've got a receiver problem. But of course we've got things like the SpeedyBee app that we can either use via on the go or Bluetooth to check whether we've got a receiver problem. But I guess with this one you can plug your receiver directly in and know that it's getting the signal, so I could check that. And in the box we get a instruction manual, and we just get this plastic bag here and just this little header here with some staples. So you're not given any cables or anything like that for receivers, but it's fairly straightforward. So everything's labelled up quite nicely actually, so you can see that on the top here we've got the ground and then all of your other pins. It does stress in the manual to check the polarity, so I imagine there's no reverse voltage protection on there, which I think for the price is a shame really, because there are a lot of battery checkers out there. Maybe not a lot that have got this receiver function, but is the demand there for it? I don't know. But anyways, it's saying make sure you get the polarity right, so we can check that. So that is the ground there, and then if I take a 6S Lipo, which I'm actually in the middle of charging, so I can just plug in there, but I don't expect everything to be balanced. So we get this screen here straight away, and yet you can see they're not quite balanced yet. Interestingly, it doesn't give you the full voltage. That's something I would like to have seen, because nobody likes doing maths in the field, but you can obviously add them all up to get that voltage. And we have got a USB micro, as I mentioned, for powering it up individually, and a USB-C on the other side there, and it mentions that you are not to plug both of those in at the same time, so it's one or the other. Then we have this button here which should cycle through all of the different protocols. So you've got S bus there. Obviously it's not getting any readings at the moment because I don't have a receiver plugged in. So then we've got DSM 1024 and DSM 2048. We've got PPM and PWM. It does look like though that it only goes up to 8 channels. So I've got my XM Plus plugged into the receiver port, and I've also got the switch in the 5 volt position Although I think an XM Plus will actually power up from 3.3 volts, so let's try that. However, if you've got one of those Spectrum satellites that only run off 3.3 volts, then make sure it's in this back position, otherwise you are going to blow your receiver. So I can either power it up using the USB ports, but I should be able to power it up using the LiPo, and the indicators are on both sides, so I can see that the negative should go there, so we can see the negative on my LiPo there, so I can plug it in, and I've got my Taranis switched on already, so we can see that the screen has changed and it says S-Bus at the top. The screen is a little bit dim, I have to say, but if I move my sticks around, then we can see all of the PWM values, and also if I do my aux channels, then we can see those as well. This is the RSSI. Wonder what happens if I turn off the radio, what values they say. Now that's interesting. It's gone down to 1,000, so it doesn't go lower than 1,000, so you couldn't use it to troubleshoot a fail-safe issue perhaps, because the PWM value goes lower, like 800 or something like that. I'll just turn the Taranis back on, and I wonder if then that means it won't actually go over 2,000 if it won't go under 1,000. So sometimes, let's have a look, see if any of these will go over. So that's, yeah, that one has, you see, 2011, but will it go lower than 1,000? Let's come down on the throttle trim. Nah. And let's see if I just do that. No, so it seems like on the 1000 side of the PWM value it doesn't go any lower than that, so that could be a downside, but you can see everything else there. I'm not sure I'd use it myself, but you know, if you use your receiver like this, then you can troubleshoot, I guess, with it. One thing that I've noticed, if I go back to the screen that has got the LiPo voltage, can you see cell 1 here? It's lower than the others, and I think it's using just cell 1 to power things up. So I'm just going to remove the ground here from the receiver and see if that value goes up. Yes, it does. So be careful with that, I would say, for using it for too long, otherwise you're going to get the individual cell voltages out of whack. Of course you can use a balanced charger to charge it back up, but if you're in the field, then I don't know, maybe it's best to take a power bank if you're wanting to do this sort of stuff, or just have a LiPo in reserve that you're not fussed about having one of the cell voltages decrease a little bit. So there you go, that is my review of the URUAV MC-6S. You know, there are a lot of LiPo checkers out there. I don't think there are many that have this servo checker thing. Is it needed? I don't know. I've compared it against my ISDT checker, and the voltages of the individual cells are the same, so it seems to be accurate. The screen is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but other than that, I'm going to be using it in the field until I lose this one. Now, I've got a lot of stuff coming up on the channel. I haven't been able to do much filming because of the man flu, so let's take a look at what's going to be coming up. So I've got the HobbyMate Asteroid 3 in both 6S and 4S versions, so that should be fun, seeing the difference between the two. And I have to keep looking at the website because I can't believe how cheap this thing is. It does come as a kit or built, so make sure that you are checking that if you are buying it, but so far it seems like a fantastic model. And while on the subject of 3-inch and 6S, I've also got the Ishin Wizard X140HV. This is their 3-inch version of the X220HV, which I had a lot of issues with. it was doing death rolls on 6S, and I've heard reports of this doing the same, so we'll have to see what happens there. It looks like this toothpick craze isn't going to go away anytime soon, which is a good thing because I really like it. This is the iFlight Turbo B 120 RS Micro, and it looks really interesting. And I've also got the Happy Model Sailfly X, which a lot of people have asked me to check out as well, and it also looks fantastic. Then I've got the iFlight Turbo B 77R, which is like a non-Cine Whoop version of their Cine B. So it should be interesting to see how this one flies, because it's going to be a lot lighter than the Cine B. And the Cine B really you could only use as a Cine Whoop, so no flips or rolls. So it'd be interesting to see what this one is like compared to that. And then I've got the Foxeer Box 2 camera to check out. Now, all of these products I've just taken out of the box and haven't really looked into them, so I'm going to have to go away and do that. And if there are any products out there that you'd like me to take a look at, then put them in the comments and I'll see if I can get a hold of them. But as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.